How do you make a drink that is both hot and cold at the same time? How do you make ice cream that tastes of bacon and eggs, or porridge that tastes of snails? For the answer, you need to find a molecular gastronomer. Rachel Edwards-Stewart is a Cambridge-educated biochemist. She's also a Paris-trained chef. By mixing the two passions of her life, Rachel is carving a new path that she hopes will lead to exciting innovations, not in the lab, but in the kitchens of the world's top restaurants.
Molecular gastronomy is the idea of trying to use science to improve and innovate cooking. I love food and I love cooking, and it's always been quite a big part of my life. So the idea that I could use my scientific discipline and apply it to something that I love and can see how useful it would be was just something that sounded, you know, like a great idea.
So what is a meal cooked the molecular gastronomy way like?
When you place cream on ice and whip it, you can whip it into what we call curly-whirly cream, but into quite a stable mousse. And so what I want to do is I want to do a similar thing, but not using cream, using a mixture of cheese and tomato.
Whipping cream contains 30% fat. Goat's cheese is 45% fat. So Rachel adds tomato to the goat's cheese to reduce the fat content. It should now act like whipping cream.
Everything that we eat is actually composed of a kind of a mix of some sort. Either it's got, you know, a water base in it, or oil base, or it's oil stabilised in water, or it's the mousse, so you've got air stabilised in either water or in an emulsion. And if you define everything that you eat in terms of what's dispersed in what and what's suspended in what and how its kind of physical composition is, then you can start to invent new dishes based on these formula using different ingredients. You can deconstruct one dish and then use this to create a brand new dish.
Deconstructivism is only one element of molecular gastronomy. Rachel is studying for a PhD at Nottingham University.
I'm trying to use science to improve and innovate cooking. But the whole gastronomy bit, because we're focusing on the taste, that's always kind of the main criteria, which is why it differs from simple just food science, where you've got different kind of focuses and different interests. We're here, our main concern is just improving the quality of food.
To complement the marinated pork, Rachel plans a hot lentil salad with a difference. Lentils go well with balsamic vinegar, but if it's added as a liquid, the flavour will be dispersed throughout the lentils. By turning the balsamic vinegar into a gel, it will stay separate.
So here I've got my agar powder, which I'm going to add. This is my gelling agent. And one of the big advantages about this gelling agent is that actually, once you've formed a gel from it, you can heat the gel without the gel melting.
Because they won't melt when heated, the vinegar cubes don't mix with the lentils, but when one's eaten, an explosion of flavour is released. Gelling agents are commonly used in industry. Working out how they behave in small kitchens is the key area of Rachel's study.
Most of our equipment is suited to these kind of experiments where you can measure viscosity, or you can measure the flavour release of solutions, or you can measure the texture of gels, because all of this is important for the industrial kind of side of things. And also for me, I can make use of these because I can use this equipment to find results, such as if it's a spongy gel, if it's a particularly tough gel, what happens when you eat it, how the flavour's released.
It's possible to measure how flavours are released when we eat. You need one computer, one mass spectrometer, some food to taste, and a willing volunteer. Food in the mouth gives off an aroma that passes up the nose, giving the sensation of flavour. The tube carries this aroma to the mass spectrometer, which records flavour release over time. enabling Rachel to work out exactly when each gel releases its flavour.
This is the moment that I start eating it and breathing into the machine. You get a lot released, and then it drops quite rapidly. I mean, this is in the space of about half a minute, and then you get this other peak at the end, which I would have thought would correspond with me swallowing, so I kept it in my mouth a little bit, and then as I swallowed, you get this sudden extra peak.
Knowing how flavour is released in the lab is one thing, but being able to predict what will happen at the dinner table is vital, especially if that table is in the best restaurant in the world. This is the Fat Duck at Bray, recently voted #1 restaurant in the world by a panel of over 600 industry professionals.
We combine the highest level of cooking possible with the best ingredients you can possibly get, a fundamental knowledge of scientific principle to try and create food that is both delicious, as the best food we can possibly cook, but also, and this is probably the key thing of all, to bring a sense of fun. I think gastronomy should be fun, and science can help as a tool to do this.
Heston Blumenthal uses science to create imaginative dishes like bacon and egg ice cream.
Why do eggs thicken custards? So you understand that you heat them up to a certain temperature, the proteins start to coagulate, they contract, and that network thickens the liquid. If you overcook it, they contract too much, they coil up, and you've got scrambled egg. Once that happens, you know those proteins have actually coiled up, the egg's scrambled, you can't use it. Well, you can't if you want to have a custard, but if you turn it into ice cream, you puree it and pass it through a sieve, you can make an ice cream from it. It will be a different result, it will taste of egg. And that was the mechanism we looked at for the bacon and egg ice cream.
But Heston's always looking for new ways to blend science with food.
I'd worked on the idea that you can have one mouthful of food with 3 separate gelling agents, and through the flavour release and controlling the volatility of the 3 flavours that were in the 3 separate gelling mechanisms, and maybe controlling the fat and things like that, it could be possible to create one mouthful of food that has 3 separate flavours.
To find out whether this can be done, he's turned to Rachel's PhD research.
The great thing about the gelling agent that I work with is it actually does the opposite to what most gelling agents, conventional gelling agents, does, which is that it gels on heating rather than melting on heating. So we've now put these in a water bath at 85 degrees, and we're going to leave them in here for 15 minutes, and as you will see, they're all going to form a gel. But because they're all different types, which is indicated by the different colours, the properties of the resulting gel vary quite a lot in terms of their texture and in terms of the temperature at which they will melt back into the solution.
Rachel puts a drawing pin in each test tube and records the exact temperature and time at which each gel melts and the pin drops. This allows her to provide the information the restaurant requires. The control sample is the black gel, and it melts almost immediately.
If between the distance between that water bath and here, the gel's melted, then in the restaurant where there's a much longer distance between the kitchen and the restaurant where the clients are eating, then it would have melted way before it would have even got to the plates. The rest of them melt back. Well, the first one that we should see is the blue one, followed by the green one, followed by the yellow one, and the red one, we won't see the pin dropping in that one at all, because it doesn't melt at room temperature, it actually melts below room temperature. If you start off with really good quality ingredients, then you're much more likely to produce a dish that is going to be much tastier. And I really like to go to farmers markets and organic markets, and when I'm in London I love to go to Borough Market. I mean, the enormous range you've got of different kind of produce there, it's really good quality, but you've got the choice.
Oh wow.
Oh look, that one there, that's the one.
That's a good one.
Yes, I can see the other one.
And that one. Perfect.
Oh wow.
So I'm cooking for 4. I'm probably going to need a bit more than that, aren't I?
One of the very important things when you're doing the sort of thing that I do, especially when I'm playing around slightly with these chemicals, is you want to make sure the ingredients you're buying are totally natural and they haven't added any kind of artificial agent.
Brilliant.
Because that may interfere then when you're adding something that you want. There may be some interaction because there's already been some type of stabiliser or some type of gum already added to you know, to your fruit juice or to your puree. Whereas at least if you're buying it from somewhere like Borough, you know that what you're buying is totally pure and totally organic. What I'm making here is a tiramisu style risotto.
Traditional tiramisu is made with sponge fingers soaked in coffee and liqueur. By swapping the sponge for the rice, Rachel replaces one starchy food with another.
I love risotto and I love tiramisu and I love rice pudding, so I thought why not try and kind of make a, you know, deconstruct the tiramisu dish and try and make it into risotto. Hey! If I've got a particular new idea for a dish that I'm very keen to try out, I do tend to kind of get a few of my good friends around, you know, in order for them to kind of, you know, experience it. And I think mainly because they'll be totally honest with me and they'll tell me if it's gross or if they think it's really nice. Also, they tend to kind of say, nice idea, but have you ever thought about doing this? Right, now what we've got here is we've got a goat cheese and tomato emulsion. Yeah? What I've tried to do is mimic the structure of cream using cheese and tomato juice.
Cheers.
I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks very much. Thanks to the chef.
It is like cream, isn't it? And it's got no cream in it.
At last, it's the main course. Loin of pork and hot lentils with cubes of balsamic vinegar jelly.
It's strange because I'm not sure that I really enjoy the lentils that much on their own, but when you get a cube, it's amazing.
You don't chew on it, you just eat it and then it's there.
Like the way it blends into the lentils.
And you could play around with colour as well. If you put loads of different cubes in, all the same colour, but different tastes, and then you really don't know what. It's a bit like a Willy Wonka kind of, you know, what's it going to be? Right, so what we have here is, it's actually called deconstructivism, because what I've got is one of my favourite puddings, from the only ones I eat, is tiramisu, and one of my favourite all-time ever dishes is risotto, so I thought why not make a tiramisu risotto with strawberries and mint.
It looks absolutely gorgeous.
It does, doesn't it?
But I knew that it wouldn't be absolutely gross because rice pudding is nice.
Yeah.
I was contemplating caramelised onions, but I thought I might just slightly tip it too much in the wrong kind of way. But that's something that I might consider.
Yeah.
The taste is to tiramisu, yet you've got this totally different texture. I really wanted to incorporate coffee into a main course, but I found it really hard to do because I couldn't think of anything that it would actually be nice with. And I was thinking maybe salt cod puree with coffee, but then I was like, just sounds gross. So then I thought, well, why not a coffee risotto? You can have loads of good ideas, and it's just about actually making them, using a bit of science to put them into practice.
Yeah.
We won't all be molecular gastronomers, but Rachel feels her science has lessons for everyone.
I definitely think there's a possibility to educate people so that they understand better when they're cooking things exactly what's going on, and in that kind of way they can produce something that is both incredibly tasty, has an amazing texture, and is really good for you as well.